Or you know what I might do? La 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 la. I will, since that's kind of annoying, I'll do this. There we go. How about that? Look at this arrangement of screen real estate. I'm a screen real estate agent. All right, let's keep going. YouTube, welcome back. We have been playing with phonologies. We have worked out the phonology of both Llenyddiaeth and Cranslor. And now we are at a point where we can start to see what happens when they collide. So it's kind of the moment I've been waiting for. So why don't we get started? Let's go over here to the side of webcam. And let's see. Okay. Let's make a new window of this so that we can fit more on. And let's put in. So with the caveat that I am by no means an expert on Creoles, I will take a kind of approach where what we're doing is we're finding the way in which these two inventories intersect as the foundation for the phonology of the Creole. And I'm gonna have to move my camera here. La 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 la. Or you know what I might do? Since that's kind of annoying, I'll do this. There we go. How about that? Look at this arrangement of screen real estate. I'm a screen real estate agent. All right, let's keep going. So let's figure out what these inventories have in common. So we do not have, I'll just put in bold what we have in common. So we have T in common. We have K in common. We have S in common. So both have S. Interestingly, both have allophonic Z, but in slightly different situations. Allophonic Z for coronals is between voice segments, and allophonic Z for in Cranslor is after nasals. But that's fine. We have H in common, and we have M and N in common. We have W in common. We have Yod in common. J, yeah. We have L in common. Looks like Llenyddiaeth doesn't have Ra. Interesting. And then we have the 5 vowels in common. As for syllable structure, we have CVC in common. So this gives us a more limited palette to use when constructing the words of this Creole. So let's now take away everything that is not shared. But before we do, I'm going to write down here all of the things that we've excised, and I am going to I have plans for these segments down here, but first let's just write them down. So we have P, B, D, G, the velar nasal, and Ra. Great. Okay. Now, of course, when we look at this, we also have a ton of sounds from the substrate language that are not present here. And since the idea is that this would be spoken by native speakers of Llenyddiaeth, the substrate language, we might well want to keep some of these sounds in, but as a first pass, let's just try and do the sort of intersection of the two phonologies, and then we can add things back in. So with that in mind, let's get rid of everything that we don't need, and then we can. All right, so this is the phonology of our Creole. I think what we need to do is then decide what's going to happen. This is not the final one, by the way, but first step, what's going to happen with these segments that are not in this intersection? What's going to happen to them? So we have P. What's the closest thing that a Lenathyla speaker has to P? It's probably F, and I think this was brought up in the chat earlier. So credit out to whoever mentioned that. Yes. So let's say F. And because we're going to be dubbing as F, we're going to have to put F into the phonology here. B is a good question. So B could also go to F. B could also go to W, potentially. Because I don't want B to go to V, because we don't have V in the positions where B exists in Lenathyla. Sorry, I have to say that better. We don't have in Lenathyla B or V in the positions that B exists in Kranslor. So there's no way that Mban would be adapted into Lenathyla phonology as Mvan, because you wouldn't get V in between a word initial M and A and A, the vowel. So that will probably not work that way. So maybe F or maybe W. Unclear. Depends on what we want. It depends on what we want this adaptation process to be most faithful to. What aspect of the sound? If they're more worried about preserving the voicing of B, if that's salient to them in some way and they want to preserve it, then maybe W is an appropriate target. If they don't care, or it's not that they don't care, but maybe voicing is not salient for them, this adaptation system does not really care about preserving voicing, then F could be a good choice. Similarly, with D, we could have it go to T, or we could have it go to L. T, and this has the same sort of rationale behind it. T, if they don't care as much about preserving the voicing, they want to preserve more of the manner of articulation. And L, if they care more about preserving the voicing, than T. And for any of you who are wondering about the thought process behind this, I'm sort of sneakily trying to teach you optimality theory. If that's not something that you've heard about before, I'll have to do a video on that one day. Okay, so then we have G. We have to make we have to ask a similar question. Is it going to devoice to K, or is it going to turn into something voiced and dorsally, like W could be another potential there, because W has a dorsal and a labial component to it. You can sort of experience this for yourself. If you make a W, there's a raising of the back of the tongue, and there's also the rounding of the lips. Yeah, galactic sand, that's a good point. Yeah is another potential option, which also has a dorsal component. Yeah, as a palatal, it's sort of in between coronal and dorsal. Some people model that as it having both specifications for coronal and dorsal, if we're talking about in terms of phonological features. All right, and then ng. So ng could turn into what? It could turn into na if we don't care as much about the place. It could turn to ka if we don't care as much about the manner and voicing. Or wa. So this stays a sonorant, loses the nasalization. Having ng turn into w isn't unheard of. So those are some options there. And then ra, I think pretty clearly will turn to la. All right. Okay, so these are our options. So P to F, that's pretty clear. R to L, that's pretty clear. We have to make a decision on what to do with the voice sounds. And I kind of like, and I'm getting the mood from the chat, that the chat also tends to like this pivot to approximants. And Taga, I really like the suggestion that G could be adapted differently depending on the different vowels around it. I really like that. So W around back vowels, Y around front vowels. And then we could, so depending on vowels. And then the question of nga. Maybe this is something that could also be context dependent. So let's say perhaps n in onset, w in coda. So we can have our cake and eat it too. And then let's try and oh no, there's one more thing we should do, which is talk about how to repair syllable structure violations. So I think what we need to do with syllable structure violations is just schwa epenthesis. So we're bringing back schwa. Although, you know, it's not really phonemic in the sense that it contrasts with every other vowel, or in the sense that it doesn't contrast with any other vowel. That's the proper way to say it. It's in complementary distribution with a full vowel. But nevertheless, there it is. And so let's start doing some adaptation. Sutton's got an interesting point that maybe the voice stops will be adapted differently, just as we've done here. Maybe the voice stops could go to voiceless stops in one position and approximants in another. Let's take a look and see what the results are of the way we've got it now, and see if we like it better another way. So let's get over here to the Creole, and let's bring up some Kranslor. Okay. So let's see if we can come up with a name for this language. So let's see what we have here to work with. So do we have anything like language or speak? Sla. Okay. Sla. Maybe we could have something like common speech or something like that. Share, no. Common, I doubt we have that. Well, let's adapt Sla at least. So, I need more screen real estate. I got to get back. I got to get my my screen real estate license renewed. How are we going to do this? All right, but let's just, I know what we'll do. We'll have a third window because we don't really need all of this. Can we do it? Yeah, I think we can do it. And so here is our third window. In the spirit of traditional Creole, let's give it a name, meaning something like improper. Let's see what that looks like. So we have to come up with a way of saying something like improper in Kranslor. And I think we have, do we have something like that? That means, I forget what language we put this into. There was a word that meant something like rotten or broken. Was that a Sakrat language? Or was that a Kal language? Is that Lenathailif? Yes, I think it was? No. Okay, sorry, I'm going to just look this up because I need to know. I think we have it in... Yes, no, we do. We have it in me. So we have this word... I've got to remember my romanization here. We have this word zhao, which means broken or rotten or something bad. So where does that come from? We can use that. Lexicon. And let's see, where did that go? I have to open up the whole thing. Excuse me while I look up this word. So we need to find, there it is. So it is it's this stream, impassable river, obstacle route, sidal. So what does that look like? Stal. All right, so maybe we have something like, so sla is speak or speech, and stal is broken. Now we have different word orders in Kranslor and Lenadilef. If it were Lenadilef, we would say something like stalsla. If it were Kranslor word order, we would say something like slastal. So the question is, what are we going to use? Now, I'm not sure if there is if there's anything in the literature that's going to push us one way or the other. I'm somewhat tempted to give it the Lenadilef order, given that this is the L1 of the most of the speakers of this Creole, or at least, well, no, if it's a Creole, the L1 is the Creole, but as the Creole is developing, it's developing from the Lenadilef substrate. So stalsla. And yeah, so Sparsh, just, exactly what Sparsh said. So let's say stalsla, and then this will also differentiate it from Kranslor as well. So let's adapt this then. So our segment by segment adaptation is going to go stalsla. We're going to need sedal sala. And then we have D is the only segment we need to change here. So salal salah. Salal salah. That ended up sounding kind of interesting. Salal salah. It almost sounds like a reduplicated construction. Yeah, so the Pidgin to Creole pathway is definitely one that we can explore here. Whether or not this is the only way in which Creoles emerge is, I think, one of these debated things. But I think for our purposes, we're essentially using this to learn and to explore and create. So I think if it works, let's use it. Salal salah. So I don't mind that at all. Salal salah. Salal salah. Salal salah. And maybe, the second salah is not necessary. So you could just say, I speak salal. Okay, so why don't we use this as our first attempt, our first I don't know what are we gonna call it? Our first thought about what it should be called, and I'm fairly happy with it. So I'm gonna put it in bold to indicate. Oh, I'm a little bit off screen here. Sorry about that. There we go. Salal salah. You were wondering when I was going to notice that, weren't you? All right. Okay, so let's adapt some more. So there we go. We need to get this under control. Apologies, everyone. I need to hide all these tabs. Hide call. Okay. So then, we need to hide you too. Look at all these languages. We've been busy, haven't we? So let's just slightly, there we go. Okay, so everyone can see everything now, hopefully. So many spreadsheets, so little time. So, salal salah. All right, let's make some more. Let's make a sentence. So why don't we say something like, chickens, here's our sentence. Okay, while we're on the topic of chickens, let's translate a Lenadilef proverb. That's what we'll do. So do not watch others eating chickens. So this is the Linodilef version. Muf wonrok helik verranum. And now let's basically work this out with something like the Linodilef grammar, but with the with morphemes coming from Kranslor, adapted phonologically. So, do we have a negative imperative? We do. Tarsu. So, tarsu, negative imperative. Watch, look, see, kra. We might want to do something with some of these words. And chat, if you have thoughts about how we may adapt some of these Kranslor words, please do make some suggestions. Yeah, maybe. I think that there's going to be maybe some culture shock stuff about the role of chickens in each of these societies. Tarasukra, eating chickens. So let's find eat. Oh, I missed it. There it is. Mwa. And we're just going to do away with the morphology for the, at least at the start, and then we'll build up some new morphology out of some lexical material from Kranslor. Tarsu krangwa. Do not see eat chicken. Pakak. Okay, so that's what the do not see others eating chickens. Do not see the eating of chickens. All right, so let's adapt this then phonologically. So we need to schwa epithesize. Karangawa pakak. We need to get rid of our velar nasal. Nawa. We need to get rid of R. We then need to get rid of any voiced. Nothing voiced here. Okay. So tarsu kala nawa pakak. All right. Well, that was pretty simple. Tarsu kala nawa pakak. All right. So we have our first sentence here. It's a nice proverb. Don't watch others eating chickens. Let's take a little break and let's make this a little bit more interesting. Okay. So I am going to find where my controls are to put me back in the middle and say, YouTube, thank you so much. I'm just waving my hand around here. Thank you so much for coming. Let's come back next time and we will put our heads together and we will make some more Creole fun. Until next time. Oh, and I just saw something so sorry, YouTube, stick around. I saw Sparsh just pointed out that tar should be tal, which it absolutely should. So we'll deal with that next time as well. So come back and you'll see that get rectified.